You ever have one of those moments where your entire life pivots because of a single sentence? Mine started with my little sister complaining about the air conditioning. Okay, fine. It wasn't just the AC. Mia never does anything halfway. That night, she decided our entire house was too small for her genius. Her words, not mine. But let me back up. It was Sunday. Family dinner night. The kind of tradition Mom clings to like a life raft ever since Dad left. The air smelled like burnt garlic bread and her vanilla candle, the one she lights to mask the chaos. Our living room felt smaller than usual, maybe because Mia had spread her med school flashcards across the entire coffee table. Again, I was slouched on the couch, picking at a thread on the armrest. My hands were still stained with grease from the hardware store, and I'd caught Mom side-eyeing them twice. "You'll never get a girlfriend with hands like that, Ethan," she'd say, half joking. But that night, her smiles didn't reach her eyes. Mia burst in holding her laptop like a trophy. "Ugh, this place is suffocating," she announced, flopping into Dad's old recliner, the one nobody's allowed to sit in. "How am I supposed to study for my MCATS with this view?" She gestured at the water stain on the ceiling, shaped like Florida. I rolled my eyes. "Maybe try the library?" "Maybe try getting a life," she shot back, smirking. Classic Mia, always aiming for the soft spots. Mom shuffled in with a pie, her floral apron dusted with flour. "Be nice, you two," she said, but her voice lacked its usual warmth. Her knuckles were white around the pie server. That's when I felt it. The shift. The room got heavier, like the air before a thunderstorm. Mia kept needling. "Seriously, Mom, when are we moving? My friend Emma's parents just bought a lake house." Mom's smile froze. "You're lucky we even have space for you." Silence. Mia snorted. "Yeah, right. Ethan's been squatting here rent-free since he dropped out." "That's lucky?" The thread I'd been picking snapped. My face burned. Dropout. The word hung there, ugly and final. I wanted to vanish into the couch cushions. Mom set the pie down too hard, making the forks rattle. Then, she reached under the table. "Actually," Mom said, her voice steady in a way that made my stomach drop, "I have an early birthday gift for Ethan." She slid a gift bag toward me. Red tissue paper. A curled ribbon. Innocent looking. Mia leaned forward, eyes glittering. "Ooh, is it a job application?" I forced a laugh, but my palms were clammy. "Birthday's not for 3 weeks," I thought. The bag felt light. Too light. "Open it," Mom said. "Not a suggestion." The ribbon slipped through my fingers. I fumbled with the tissue paper, my pulse roaring in my ears. Please don't be socks. Please don't be socks. It wasn't socks. The first thing I saw was the logo, Premier Property Management, then the words, Lease Agreement. My vision blurred. "What?" Mom folded her hands. 30 days, Ethan. I think it's time." Mia's laugh died in her throat. The flashcards fluttered to the floor. Time. The word echoed. Time for what? To fail? To crash and burn? The lease trembled in my hands. My name glared up at me in bold print. Apartment 4, B, $900 a month, move-in date, August 1st. "Mom," I croaked, "I can't afford—" "You'll figure it out." Her voice cracked. "You have to." Mia stared at her shoes. The recliner creaked. Somewhere outside, a car alarm wailed. The vanilla candle sputtered, drowning in its own wax. And just like that, I was homeless. The lease agreement might as well have been a grenade. I stared at it, the words blurring into a mess of black and white. 30 days. My throat tightened like someone had knotted a fist around it. Mia's eyes widened, her earlier smugness dissolving into something I'd never seen before. Guilt? Panic? The The recliner groaned as she shifted, her MCAT flashcards scattering across the floor. "Mom, you're joking, right?" My voice came out thin, pleading. This isn't real." But Mom just pressed her lips into a line, her flour-dusted hands gripping the edge of the table. The vanilla candle between us hissed, drowning in its own wax. Mia broke the silence first. "Wait, he has to leave? Why not me?" Her voice pitched higher, almost indignant. Mom didn't look at her. "Because you're still trying, Mia. Ethan's been—" She trailed off, but the unspoken words hung in the air. Stuck. Lost. A ghost in his own life. The room spun. I gripped the lease harder, the paper crinkling under my sweaty palms. $900 a month. That was half my paycheck from the hardware store. I could already smell the mildew of some basement apartment, feel the weight of ramen noodles and cut-off notices. "I can't do this," I muttered, shoving the lease back into the gift bag. The red tissue paper felt mocking now, like birthday confetti at a funeral. "You can," Mom said, firmer this time, but her knuckles were bone white. "You'll get a second job, or ask for more hours. You're smart, Ethan. You just stopped trying." Stopped trying. The words sucker-punched me. Is that what she thought? That I wanted to spend my days hauling lumber for contractors who called me college boy like it was an insult? That I enjoyed watching Mia's Instagram stories, her in lab coats, holding test tubes like she'd already won a Nobel Prize? Mia stood abruptly, her chair screeching. "This is messed up. You can't just kick him out." For a split second, I almost thanked her. Then she added, "Who's going to fix the garbage disposal when it breaks?" Typical. Even her defense of me was a backhanded compliment. Mom stood too, her apron strings unraveling. "Enough. This isn't a debate." She turned to me, and for the first time I saw the cracks in her armor, the tremor in her chin, the wet gleam in her eyes. "You're my son, Ethan. I love you. But love isn't letting you fade away." The air conditioning kicked on, blowing the lease onto the floor. I stared at it lying there, next to Mia's flashcards. Renal physiology, organic chemistry, words that belonged to a life I'd never have. What if I can't? The question slipped out, small and broken. Mom knelt suddenly, her knees popping. She grabbed my grease-stained hands, the ones she'd mocked for being unlovable, and squeezed. "Then you'll come home?" she whispered. "But you have to try first." Mia hovered in the doorway, her arms crossed. "This is so dramatic. He'll be back in a week." I wanted to hate her, but her voice wavered, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. The house felt smaller than ever, walls pressing in. The water-stained Florida on the ceiling taunted me. "You'll never escape." I stood, my legs shaky, and headed for the garage, the one place Mom never cleaned, where my old life gathered dust. Bike helmets from middle school, a deflated soccer ball, and there, under a moldy tarp, my toolbox. I gripped the handle, the metal cold and familiar. "What are you doing?" Mia's voice behind me made me jump. I didn't turn. "What Mom wants, trying." She hesitated. "You know, Uber's hiring, or DoorDash. You've got that clunker truck." I whirled around. "You think I haven't thought about that? You think I'm just, what, lazy?" She flinched. "Number, I think you're scared." The truth of it punched through me. I was scared. Scared of failing. Scared of being the family joke. Scared that Mom was right, that I'd forgotten how to want anything. Mia kicked at an old gas can. "Look, if you need, I don't know, a resume template or something. I'm good." I yanked the tarp off my toolbox. Inside, my old baseball glove stared up at me, the leather cracked. I'd quit the team junior year after Dad left. Too much responsibility, I'd told the coach. Now responsibility had come hunting me anyway. The garage became my war room. For 3 days, I camped out between boxes of Christmas decorations and Dad's rusted fishing gear, my laptop balanced on an old tire. Every job listing felt like a verdict. Requires 2+ years of experience. Bachelor's degree preferred. My resume glared back at me, a graveyard of dead-end jobs and dropped classes. High school baseball captain. That was the last time I'd felt proud of anything. Mom stayed away, but I'd hear her pause outside the door sometimes, her shadow lingering under the crack. Mia. She'd started leaving protein bars on the washing machine like I was a stray cat she didn't want to name. On the 4th night, I cracked. I drove to Benny's auto shop, the place that had been hiring for months. The now hiring sign was sun-bleached. The O burned out, so it read now 8 choang. Fitting. The shop smelled like gasoline and regret. Benny, the owner, squinted at my application. His fingernails were black with engine grime. Says here you worked at Thompson Hardware? Yeah, I ran the tool rentals. My armpits prickled. Liar. I'd mostly fetched coffee for contractors. He leaned back, his chair squealing. You know the difference between a carburetor and a catalytic converter? I swallowed. One's older? He stared. Then he laughed, a deep wheezing sound that shook his beer belly. Kid, you're greener than a Prius, but I need someone to handle oil changes and tire rotations. Minimum wage. You in? The world tilted. Minimum wage. That wouldn't cover rent, but yes. The word leapt out before I could stop it. Benny tossed me a stained work shirt. Starts Monday. Don't be late. The first shift nearly broke me. I spent 8 hours elbow deep in synthetic oil, scrubbing sludge off drain pans. My hands shook so badly by lunchtime, I couldn't unwrap my sandwich. The other mechanics, a guy named Dex with neck tattoos and a silent older man named Carl, watched me like vultures circling roadkill. You're holding the torque wrench wrong, Dex sneered when I fumbled a lug nut. You even seen a car before? I wanted to quit, to drive home, crawl into bed, and let Mom win. But then I remembered the lease taped to my bedroom mirror. 30 days. That Friday, Mom left a note on my windshield. Dinner's in the fridge. Proud of you. The word proud cut deeper than any insult. I crumpled the note, then smoothed it back out, tucking it into my glove box like a secret. Mia cornered me Sunday night. I was scrubbing oil stains out of my only decent jeans in the bathtub when she appeared, arms crossed, leaning against the doorframe. So, you're really doing this? Do I have a choice? I muttered, scrubbing harder. She hesitated, then tossed a stack of papers onto the toilet lid. MCAT study guides. There's a section on mechanical physics, or whatever. Might help. I blinked. The pages were highlighted in her aggressive pink ink, notes crammed in the margins. Torque equals force times distance. Why? I asked. She shrugged. Mom's been crying into her coffee every morning. It's annoying. But her voice softened. For once, she didn't look smug, just tired. Day 12 at Benny's, Carl let me replace a brake pad. My hands shook. The shop air buzzed with the hum of fluorescent lights and Dex's classic rock playlist. Carl hovered nearby, grunting corrections. Not so tight. Lube the pins, kid. When the car lowered off the lift, the customer started it up, and the brake warning light stayed off. Nice job, Carl muttered, clapping my shoulder. 2 words. That's all it took. That night, I lay awake, replaying it. Nice job. My hands still smelled like brake cleaner, but for the first time in years, they felt useful. Day 19, Mom found me in the garage at 2 a.m., practicing tire rotations on her sedan. She stood in the doorway, her robe glowing in the moonlight. "You'll wear out the tread." "Can't sleep," I said, avoiding her eyes. She knelt beside me, her knees cracking. "I used to watch you pitch," she said quietly. "You'd get this look, like the whole world disappeared except you and that ball." I tightened a lug nut too hard, my throat burning. "That was a long time ago." "Not so long." She touched the toolbox, my toolbox. "You still have the same look." When she left, I found a $20 bill tucked under my wrench. Day 28. 1 shift left. Benny called me into his office, a cramped room plastered with pin-up calendars. "Got a customer complaining about his alternator? Want to take a look?" It was a test. I wiped my hands on my jeans. "Yeah." "Prove it," Benny said, tossing me the keys. The customer's truck sat in Bay 3 like a sleeping dragon. A 2002 Ford F-150 with a growling engine and an alternator that just ain't right. Benny leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, while Dex and Carl lurked behind him like a jury. This is it, I thought. Prove it, or die trying. The truck's hood hissed as I lifted it. Grease and rust and decades of hard living. The smell hit me like a punch. My hands trembled, but not from fear this time. From focus. "Alternator's here," I muttered, pointing to the part. The customer, a grizzled guy in a John Deere cap, nodded. "Battery's charging slow, right? Lights dimming?" "Yep," he said, squinting. "You the new kid?" "Tonight, I am." I grabbed my multimeter, the wires cold in my grip. Check voltage. Test the diode. The steps played in my head like Carl's gruff tutorials. The shop radio hummed with static, and Dex's foot tapped impatiently. 12.6 volts. Normal. "Start it up," I said. The engine roared. The needle dropped to 13.2. Too low. "Alternator's dying," I said, wiping sweat from my brow. "But let me check the connections." Benny raised an eyebrow. "You gonna upsell him, college boy?" I ignored him. My fingers traced the wiring harness, gritty with road salt. There. A corroded terminal, green and flaky. "This is your problem," I said, holding up the connector. "Clean this, replace the alternator, and you're golden." The customer scratched his beard. "How much?" I glanced at Benny. 400? 400 for the alternator. Labor's 80? Benny snorted. Labor's $120. The customer groaned but nodded. "Do it." The next hour was a blur. I yanked the old alternator, my arms shaking under its weight. Dex tossed me a socket wrench without a word. Carl hovered, arms crossed, but didn't intervene. When I bolted in the new part, my hands moved on their own. Steady, sure. Click. The belt tensioner locked into place. "Fire it up," I said. The engine growled. The multimeter jumped to 14.4 volts. "Hell yeah!" The customer slapped the hood. "Kid knows his stuff." Benny's face did something I'd never seen before. He smiled. Or maybe it was a grimace. "Not bad, college boy, not bad." Dex rolled his eyes, but Carl gave me a nod, the mechanic equivalent of a standing ovation. That night, I sat in my truck outside the house, replaying the moment. 14.4 volts. The number glowed in my head like a neon sign. Mom's porch light flickered on. She stood in the doorway, backlit, holding a plate of cookies. "You coming in?" she called. I grabbed the lease agreement from my glove box. The $900 a month now felt less like a death sentence and more like math. "Not yet," I said. Move-out day came like a bandage ripped off too fast. I shoved clothes into duffel bags while Mia supervised from my bed, crunching on Cheetos. "You're taking the posters? Bold choice." Shut up, I said, but I was grinning. Mom hovered in the hall, clutching a roll of tape like a security blanket. Did you pack socks? What about your winter coat? Mom, it's August. She blinked fast, her eyes glassy. Right. When the last box thudded into my truck bed, she handed me an envelope. For your first month, she said. Inside was a $500 check, signed Linda Reyes with "Proud of you" scribbled in the memo line. My throat closed. You saved this? She shrugged, tears spilling over. Took a few extra shifts at the clinic. I pulled her into a hug, her floral perfume mixing with the garage's oil stink on my shirt. I'm sorry, I whispered. Don't be, she said, squeezing tighter. Just water the plants. The studio apartment was a shoebox, peeling wallpaper, a fridge that buzzed like an angry hornet, and a view of the auto shop's parking lot. I taped the lease agreement to the wall. Right beside it, Mom's check. Then I unzipped my toolbox. Inside, next to my baseball glove, sat Mia's MCAT notes. She'd slipped them in when I wasn't looking, a pink sticky note attached. Don't let Dex bully you. P.S. Mom's turning my room into a yoga studio. Save me. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in years. Funny how life works. A year ago, I thought independence meant buying my own cereal. Now? I'm elbow deep in a '98 Corolla's transmission, and the customer's toddler is screaming along to Baby Shark in my waiting room. But I don't mind. The studio apartment's still a shoebox, but it's my shoebox. The fridge still buzzes, but I've learned to sleep through it. And the lease agreement? Framed above my bed, right next to Mom's $500 check. Benny calls it my diploma. Mom visits every Sunday. She brings Tupperwares of enchiladas and critiques my houseplants. This fern looks suicidal, Ethan, she said last week, poking at the crispy leaves. Takes after its owner, I shot back, but she didn't laugh, just squeezed my shoulder, her eyes lingering on the framed lease. Mia texts me now, actual sentences, not just memes. Last month, Mom bought a fucking Peloton. My old room smells like gym socks. Send help. Yesterday, MCAT results came in. 92nd percentile, don't make it weird, I replied. Does this mean you'll finally stop being insufferable? She sent a middle finger emoji. Progress. Today, though, today's different. I'm hunched under a Honda Civic when Benny's boots appear. Customer's here for you, he grunts. I roll out from under the car and freeze. Dad's standing there. Same leather jacket, same salt and pepper stubble, different eyes. Tired, softer. Heard you're the guy for timing belts, he says, hands shoved in his pockets. The shop air tastes like copper and dread. My wrench slips, clattering against concrete. Since when do you drive a Civic? I ask, because it's easier than asking, where were you? He shrugs. Got rid of the truck. Fresh start, you know? I don't. But the car's VIN matches the work order, so I pop the hood. Dad hovers, his shadow stretching over the engine. Your mom says you're doing good. Yep. She said you moved out. Yep. The silence thickens. I tighten a bolt too hard, the torque wrench whining. Look, Ethan. Camshaft's misaligned, I interrupt, pointing. Your belt's about to snap. $600 in labor. He exhales. That's more than I paid for the car. Take it or leave it. He takes it. Afterward, he lingers by the exit. You, want to grab a burger sometime? The old me would have said yes. The kid who kept his baseball glove for 9 years, just in case. The new me wipes grease off my hands. I've got a shift. He nods like he expected it. Another time? I watch his Civic sputter out of the lot. When the taillights vanish, I realize I'm clutching Mom's note from last year, the proud of you one I keep in my wallet. The paper's soft as fabric now. That night, I'm scrubbing oil off my arms when Mia FaceTimes. Her dorm room's a tornado of textbooks and empty Red Bull cans. "Mom's crying over your baby pictures again," she says, aiming the camera at a photo of me in diapers. "It's traumatizing." Payback for the MCAT bragging. She rolls her eyes but pauses. "Hey, you okay? After today?" I glance at the framed lease. August 1st glows under the apartment's crappy LED light. "Yeah," I say. And for once, it's true. Later, I text Mom, "Need help moving the Peloton? I'll do it for $80. She replies instantly, $40 and a casserole. The shop's quiet now. Outside, streetlights flicker on, painting the parking lot in orange pools. I trace the $500 check's faded memo line. "Proud of you," and think about cramped houses and second chances. Turns out Mom was right. The best gifts don't come in boxes. They come in 30-day notices, stained work shirts, and the space to finally breathe. You know that feeling when you finally solve a puzzle you've been staring at for years? That's what my life tastes like now. Burnt coffee, yes, but also the sharp, clean sting of Windex after you've scrubbed your own windows for the first time. It's been a year. I'm sitting in my studio apartment, staring at the framed lease agreement above my bed. The $500 check Mom gave me is still taped beside it. The memo lines, "Proud of you," faded to a ghost of blue ink. The fridge hums like an angry bumblebee, and the shower still coughs brown water for 3 seconds every morning. But the place smells like me now. WD-40, dollar store candles, and the basil plant Mia swears I'll kill by Christmas. Mom knocks twice before letting herself in every Sunday. Today, she's holding a casserole dish with oven mitts shaped like lobsters. "I brought pastelon," she announces, like it's a threat. "You know I don't have a working oven, right?" She sets it on my hot plate anyway. "You'll figure it out." Same words she used the night she handed me the lease. Back then, they felt like a death sentence. Now, they're an inside joke. She eyes the basil plant. Still alive, I see. Mia texts me death threats if I forget to water it. Mom smiles, but her eyes linger on the framed lease. "You ever think about moving somewhere bigger?" I follow her gaze. The lease is wrinkled, coffee-stained, and perfect. "Nah, this place is growing on me, like mold." She swats my arm, but she's grinning. "The auto shop's my second home now. Benny lets me handle engine diagnostics. Carl teaches me transmissions on slow Tuesdays. And Dex? He still calls me college boy, but he bought me a beer after I rebuilt his motorcycle carburetor. Progress. Today, though, I'm elbows deep in a minivan's engine when my phone buzzes. Mia. Emergency. Mom's painting my old room teal. Teal, Ethan. It's an abomination. I wipe grease onto my jeans and FaceTime her. Her dorm room's a tornado of highlighters and empty La Croix cans. "Teal's better than your emo black phase," I say. "It's a yoga studio," she hisses. "She plays Enya at 6 a.m. I'm traumatized." I laugh. "Welcome to adulthood, genius." She pauses. "You coming home for Thanksgiving?"